Okay, now I'm recording.
Okay, I'm making beef jerky today, and I'll start with making the marinade. I am using about a cup of Merlot wine. Any red wine will do.
Those are big cups. You can be my bartender anytime.
Half a cup each. And then I add a little bit of onion salt, about a teaspoonful.
What's that?
This is soy sauce, so I'll add about a quarter of a cup of that. I don't want to add too much since I've already added salt to it. And about 10 shakes of Worcestershire sauce.
No salt, pepper, etc.?
That's coming now. About a teaspoon of ground pepper. And about a teaspoon of smoked salt. You can use any kind of salt, but I bought this a while ago and I like it a lot better than other salt. Not too much salt because of all the other salt, but jerky does need the salt.
Okay, for those who have never had jerky before, what are you making that mix for?
To soak the raw meat in. Don't tell my cameraman, but I'm putting in about a half a teaspoon of garlic.
Okay.
He does not care for garlic, but if I leave it out, he says it doesn't taste right. So I just never let him know I was putting in garlic. And that's it. Now as I slice the meat, I'll just drop it in here and then put it into a covered container and let it sit for about 4 or 5 hours. Now here's my nice slicer. And the roast is an outside round roast, and it's 1.322 kilograms. It's still partially frozen, which makes it easier to slice. I might have to trim off quite a bit of, there's not a lot of fat, but there's a layer of it all along the bottom. If you're
gonna stab your fingers.
If I do, you'll have to edit the film.
Scary with a knife.
If you're doing this for long-term storage, I would cut off all the fat, but this will be gone in 2 weeks, so I'm not too worried about the little bit of fat that will be on it. But I will take all this back part off.
And that's because?
It doesn't jerk well. I like this countertop because all it is a piece of pine, and if it gets too badly stained, I take a sanding block to it, sand it off, and re-oil it. I oil it about once every 2 weeks, and I don't need to put a towel down when I'm canning to put the jars onto, and it's a little higher than a regular counter, so it makes it a nice height for me. And when I'm not cooking, I put a towel on it, and the cats sit up here and look out the window and chase the birds, or wish they could chase the birds. I've got 2 bird feeders out there.
Yes, we know who the boss in this house is.
The cats.
You got it.
It's the same with anybody who has cats. And I'll put all of these bits of fat into a bag, and when we get to making sausage, it'll go into that.
Now, speaking as a safety person, I'd recommend that people don't cut the way Linda does. Always cut away from yourself.
I taught my children how to do it properly. I just never learned.
Okay.
Now I've got it set. Is that about 1/4 of an inch?
That's not even close to a 1/4 inch.
Is that?
Excuse me.
That's too thick for jerky.
That's too thick.
Way too thick.
That's about a 1/4 inch there.
That's still too thick. Cut it. Put it smaller. Little over 1/8 of an inch.
No, that's too thin.
That is good.
Okay, that's good. Usually her cameraman does this. So we're going to put this down, and cameraman will take over slicing.
Okay. There's the meat that Dawn sliced up. The stuff I did is already in the marinade.
Talk to the people, dear.
I'm lisping and slurring words. I'm just putting it all in, and when I get it all in there, I will transfer it to a rectangular margarine tub that should hold it. I'll put the lid on and let it marinate for anywhere 4 to 8 hours. And then I'll put it on to the dehydrator and turn it on to, I think it's 150 it goes to. And then 16 hours later, Don will have his crispy jerky. Excuse me.
That looks like a nice roast.
These margarine tubs are wonderful. Except I don't use enough margarine anymore to use it up. When I had children, I went through one every 2 weeks. Now it takes me about a month and a half.
What do you do if the marinade isn't covering the meat?
You just keep flipping it. Or you can put it into a Ziploc bag and do it that way.
Oh, you don't make more marinade?
I could.
Like tender bar, Parmesan or wine.
You can also add in onions, chili flakes, hot peppers. I tried making hot jerky or spicy jerky for my son, but I added in all sorts of peppers and it didn't make it hot, so then I added some jalapeno peppers that I had dried. I ground them up into a flour and into a powder, and I threw that in, and he said, "Oh, it's pleasantly hot." When I asked him how hot he wanted it, I was doing it before he got here, and he said, "Hot enough you can't eat it."
Duh.
And then he said, "Well, maybe not quite that hot, but he likes spicy." His children say he's trying to kill them when he does chili or tacos, things like that. Okay, maybe I'll add a bit more wine.
Local Canadian wine. Good stuff.
And a bit more Worcestershire sauce.
Not so good stuff.
But you can use hoisin sauce, mix that with wine, teriyaki sauce. It's just I don't always have those in the house, but we always have wine, so.
And why do we always have wine? Not because we're winos, because it helps with the diabetes.
It helps red wine helps your circulation. So if you have diabetes, it's a good idea to try it. I'm just going to leave that here and let it sit at room temperature because the meat is still partially frozen. And when I go to put it on the dehydrator, I'll bring it back and you can see how I do it. Bye for now.